You stand praying, forgive if you have aught against any, that your Father also, which is in heaven, may forgive you your trespasses. If your prayer life is where it ought to be, then when you pray and you're going to ask God to forgive you, and you're praying for God's help, and you got something against somebody else, you get that right. You get that right. That's what God says. Because if you got something against somebody and you're not getting it right, why do you expect God to answer your prayers? You won't do what He says to do. Why should He do what you ask Him to do? That's important, folks. It's so easy to make reasons for not getting things right. For saying, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings, or it'll embarrass me, or they'll get mad at me. They'll laugh at me for getting mad about such things. Don't let the flesh and the devil talk you into doing what God tells you to do. He'll take care of it. If you don't get a proper response from the person, that person needs to pray. Right?
Amen.
Right? Sure. God's people are forgiving people if they're right with God.
Right. Amen.
And they're a loving people. And they rejoice when things are right with each other. There are always those in every church that don't really have to worry about their prayer life. There are those, they're just not interested in the right kind of prayer life. They don't want to take the time. They don't want to be bothered. Of course, for some of them, it's because they're not saved. Then there are those that may try to have a prayer life, but they do so without establishing the right relationship with God. You can't, even if you decide, I want to have a good prayer life, if you don't have your relationship with God where it ought to be, it's not going to do any good. Psalm 66:18 says, if I regard iniquity in my heart, the Lord will not hear me. You doing what He tells you to do? Are you being where He tells you to be? Are you forgiving of others? Are you doing the right things? If you're not, you're recording iniquity in your heart because God tells you to do it. He said, the Lord won't hear you. Now, I appreciate all prayers. And I appreciate them from anyone. I need prayers. And I hope you all are faithful to pray. If you're praying for me, for yourself, for your loved ones, or for whoever, if you have in your heart that you're not giving up something you're not giving up to God, you're keeping the Lord from hearing your prayers. In everything concerning our lives here on earth, God tells us the way for good success. He tells us how to have victory. Unfortunately, many of God's people, they don't pay a lot of attention to what God tells them. We can have a successful prayer life. God says so. We can lead a successful Christian life if we listen to what God tells us. The better your prayer life, the more successful your Christian life. The more successful you can be in finding happiness and joy and peace and good success. Look at your prayer life and look at your life today. And let me ask you, how is your prayer life today? Is it where it ought to be? All it takes, take it to God. Let Him guide and direct you. Let Him lead you. And pray like He would have you to pray. You're going to find a difference, a real difference in your life. Because prayer changes things. Amen? Amen. All right. Brother.